So if you want to build a property portfolio or a property business and have £30,000, where do you start? Hey, I'm Saj Hussain, also known as the Property Joint Venture Expert and your partner for wealth creation through property. And in this video, I want to share with you 4 strategies that I would follow if I was starting out now with £30,000. So before I talk about the 4 strategies that I would use if I'm starting out with £30,000, let me talk about what I wouldn't do as a strategy with a £30,000 starting point. The most common thing people tend to do is think about purchasing one property, using the money they have as a deposit, putting in maybe a family to rent it out or a single occupation, and then they have an income. But then what next? Well, at that point, probably run out of money. So let's just use an example. Let's say the property's worth £100,000. You're purchasing it for £100,000. You have a mortgage of £75,000. You put £25,000 of your money down as the deposit. You've got stamp duty to pay. You've got solicitors' bills, broker fees, etc., etc. And you'll probably have spent all your £30,000 plus some just to acquire that property. And that might produce a couple of £100 a month for you as potential cash flow. So two and a half, maybe £3,000 a year if you're lucky in terms of income. But then how do you grow from that? Well, actually, it's quite difficult to do that if that's the strategy that you're following. So if you are starting with £30,000, that would be the way not to do it. So let's talk about 4 ways that you can actually use to build your portfolio and your property business. So once you've got very clear on the outcome you want to achieve and why you're actually doing this, and before you get started on any particular strategy, which I'm about to share with you right now, it's really important that you get some understanding, some knowledge, some experience around that. Otherwise, they say a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and that's so true when it comes to property. You know, in property, you can make huge amounts of money, but you can also mess up big as well. So it's really important that you got some education, some understanding. Now, I don't run very many training courses. I do mentoring and support. If I can help in any way, reach out, have a monthly meeting where we can come and meet as well. But make sure you're getting the learning, whether it's YouTube videos like this, you're reading books, you're going to networking events, you're doing courses, you have a mentor, whatever it might be, make sure you've got the education. So here's the thing that I would say, before we think about a strategy, first and foremost, you need to think about what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve with your £30,000 investment. Ultimately, it's about starting with the end in mind and work out where is it ultimately that you're trying to get to, so we can work out what's the best path for you to follow in order to achieve that particular goal. So to think about it for a moment, it's a case of, are you looking to grow your capital over time? So for example, you might have a very good income right now, a very good day job. You're not looking to give that up. You're looking to build something up for the future. So it could be capital growth that you're looking to achieve. On the other hand, it could be, well, actually, you don't like that day job so much. You want to get out of that day job, and it's about creating an income in order to replace the money that you earn as a day job, to have some financial freedom so that you can possibly give up that job. Now, whether you use a capital building strategy or an income strategy, it would mean you'd follow a different route. So when I talk about starting with the end in mind, is thinking about why is it that you want to invest in this way? What is it that you're ultimately trying to achieve, so that the strategies are more relevant and useful for you? So let's talk about the 4 strategies. So first of all, I would start with sourcing property. That would be my starting point. So what do I mean by sourcing property? I mean finding good property opportunities, good investment opportunities that can be packaged up and offered to somebody else, another investor, for a fee. Now, you're not acquiring property using this strategy. You're not building a property portfolio, but it's a property business. You're in the property space, allowing you to start creating an income. So when you're sourcing properties, you're looking for very good deals that would work for somebody in terms of return on investment for them. So that could be bog standard family houses, it could be a certain type of property, it could be land, whatever it might be. You're specializing in sourcing certain type of property for other people where you're charging a fee. And what's that fee going to be? Well, it depends really on the amount of value that you're adding and how much that you're bringing to the table for somebody to be able to benefit from. It could be £1,500, it could be £3,000, it could be £5,000. Heck, I've paid over £20,000 for some deals that have been very, very good deals that enable me to make significantly more than that. So it's all about value and thinking about it in the context of that deal for what is it that you charge. But what that does It gets you involved in that environment where you're speaking to investors, you're speaking to sellers, you're working with agents, you're working with solicitors to get those deals done, you're working with mortgage brokers to help package the thing together. And what it does, it gives you the experience and understanding of how the property market works. So that's where I would start, first of all, to start making income. So you're thinking, hang on a minute, where's the £30,000 get used if that's what I'm doing? Well, before you get any deals, you might need to be spending some money on marketing to find those deals. For example, it could be adverts out, direct to vendor. So you might be using a small amount of money to be able to get started to start creating some leads for you that you can convert into deals. Because remember, not every lead you generate is actually going to turn into a deal. Then, whilst you're sourcing, there'll be two bolt-on things that we'd think about. So number two, the second strategy I'd be looking to implement would be below market value deals. So where I'm looking to acquire property which is below its true value. This comes off the back of the sourcing business that you would start. So you're out there looking for very good deals, and then whilst you find those deals, you might come across something which is an amazing deal you might want to keep. This is where your £30,000 can be used towards, for example, maybe some towards a deposit. You might use bridging to acquire that property, so you make a bigger profit off the back of that. So sourcing will be the second thing. The third thing that I'll be looking to do, which is also comes off the back of sourcing, is lease option deals and other creative strategies. So when I'm out there marketing for very good quality deals, I'm trying to package together, occasionally I'll come across something which is a perfect fit for a lease option. And that lease option deal would mean there's not a huge amount of money that's going to go into it. It might be there's a little bit of money that needs to be paid up front to the owner of the property. It might be that you've got transactional costs. It might be you need to do a little bit of tidying up on that property. So you need some money. It's not all the £30,000 going to go into one deal, but that can be broken up into little pots. For example, 6 pots of 5,000, which enables you to potentially do, say, 6 deals. You're using a little bit of money in each deal. So the next strategy that I would then focus on would be rent to rent. Rent to rent is the idea of taking on a property and then re-letting it back out. When I talk about taking on a property as you're taking a lease on, or you may be taking on a management agreement, where you're effectively just taking control of that property and then making money from it by re-letting it back out. So the most common methods to do that is either rent to rent as HMOs or rent to rent as service accommodation, or some people call it rent to HMO or rent to service accommodation. So HMO is when you've got multiple people living in one property, so you've got multiple rents coming from the property, and service accommodation could be your short stays like your Airbnb and Booking.com type of short stays where people are staying for a few days, a few weeks in the property, as opposed to traditionally normal tenancies of say 6 months. Both of these, HMO and service accommodation, are high cash flow strategies. They produce a very good income, but they'll require some money to get started. So when you're taking on your HMO property, you might have a few £1,000s of costs, getting it up and running, getting it furnished, advance rent you're paying, a deposit you might have to pay. The same thing with your service accommodation. You need to get the furniture, you need to get the property looking great, you might need to do some dressing, there could be some professional photography. All of these are costs that you incur, and this is where your 30,000 pot can be broken down and put into these different units, and each one of these units are going to be producing you an income. Personally speaking, I think if you're doing a HMO rent to rent, it should be producing you about £1,000 a month, maybe 800 at the lower end. Otherwise, I'm not sure if it's worth the amount of effort that needs to go into doing it. Of course, you need to balance it with how much money goes in. So for instance, let's say you can take on a property that you're going to run as a HMO, maybe it's already furnished. Why would it be furnished? It could be originally it was a student let, and now that's not quite working, the market's changing. So you get this property already furnished, so you don't have to spend very much, you can let it out straight away. In that situation, you may be comfortable just taking £500 as a profit each month, as opposed to 800 or 1,000, because there's very little upfront spend as well. So it's about putting these things into context. So I hope this is making sense. So you've got 4 strategies that I would use here. So you've got sourcing, you've got below market value, you've got lease options, and you've got rent to rent, be it service accommodation or HMOs. So I hope this makes sense. The key thing I just want to touch on before we finish is thinking about the context of what we're talking about based on where you are. What does that mean? Where you are in the country will affect what strategies work. So I'm in Birmingham, it's a very strong market right now. So if I go out looking for below market value, 25, 30% below market value deals, which I've done in the past, right now I'd probably struggle to do that because it isn't that kind of market. It's a strong market, whereas if I went to one of the northern towns now, I probably got a better possibility of getting those type of deals. So it's thinking about where you are, because micro markets exist and the timing of the market is relevant. So for example, what's happening in London is very different to what's happening in Birmingham, which is very different what's happening in Manchester right now. So it's understanding the micro markets. So look, I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And if you're here for the first time, make sure you subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, put comments below if you've got any questions on that. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notified and you're not missing out on any opportunities.